Members, it's the appointed time. We have a quorum. I call the meeting to order. There is one item on our agenda. It is progress in and effectiveness of promoting family-friendly measures. Let's invite the administration to come in. Members, if you would like to speak, please press the request to speak button. For this item, the Secretariat has prepared an information paper, background brief, that is CB bracket 2886 of 2025 bracket 02. This is for members' reference. We now will hear from the Undersecretary for Labour and Welfare, Mr. Ho Kai Meng. Please take us through the paper. Thank you. In relation to the progress and effectiveness of our measures, we have already submitted an information paper. I will go over the salient points. First, through a number of measures, the LWB has promoted family-friendly practices. We increased the number of places in aided childcare places we also increased childcare center parent subsidy as well as other programs. We provide information to enhance our assistance to childcare service. We've also extended the after-school care program to all districts. At the same time, we have enhanced the service for neighborhood support childcare project. We have increased the incentive payment to encourage more people to participate. We have enhanced the school-based after-school care service scheme so that children can stay after school for parents to continue to work. Currently, we have 100 schools. Next year, I think all primary schools in Hong Kong will participate. In terms of promoting family-friendly employment practices, the Home of Youth Affairs Bureau has been supporting the promotion of culture of loving families and family-friendly employment practices. From 23-24, Family Council has launched promotional videos entitled Family-Friendly Workplace, promoting good experiences and practices. The Family Council has also collaborated with the RTHK to produce programs to promulgate these practices. In addition, the Labour Department has been encouraging employers to adopt employee-oriented good human resource management as well as other family-friendly practices. We encourage employers to provide flexible arrangements and additional leaves for their employees. The LW has also, or the Labour Department has also launched the Good Employee Recognition campaign as well as the Good Employer Charter. We continue to create a family-friendly work environment for government employees. Eligible female government employees enjoy 14 weeks of full-pay maternity leave. Eligible male government employees are entitled to 5 days of full-pay paternity leave. To show our commitment, starting from April 2024, we provide marriage leave and compassionate leave of 3 days. And starting from April 2025, we provide a 3-day childcare leave for eligible employees. We aim to create a new measure that is family-friendly. The government also promotes a 5-day week to improve the quality of civil servants' family life. We also put in place, we encourage employers to put in place family-friendly practices to unleash labor force. We aim to provide and promote a family-friendly environment for all. Thank you. 6 members have pressed the request button to speak. Let me read out their names. Chow Man Kwong, Ngai Man Yu, Chen Siu Hong, Kwok Wai Keung, Lo Wai Kwok, and myself. Each will have 5 minutes, question and answers included. Mr. Chow Man Kwong, thank you. In terms of family-friendly measures, the government has indeed done some work. Say, for example, marriage leave, pensioners leave, paternity leave, maternity leave, as well as 5-day week. The HYAB and the Family Council produced promotional videos entitled Family-Friendly Workplaces of different topics covering various leaves, child family day, etc. Perhaps the government can draw reference from the experience from the private sector. Suitable practices can be put in place in public organizations and the government to boost morale. Well, these are videos from the HYAB. What about the LWB? In terms of tax allowance from foreign domestic workers' employment, I think that the allowance is important to boost the workforce. Should we not make the allowance for engagement of foreign domestic helper expenses tax-free? This will help. We have 474 aided primary schools. The number of schools participate in the after-school program is about 100, so about a quarter. Are there any ways to encourage participation? Only a quarter of the primary schools take part in the scheme. What are their difficulties? Manpower shortage, low participation, lukewarm response? Under Secretary, different organizations and departments have different measures to promote family-friendly practices. Of course, our Bureau will give you further information about how we try to retain our staff. As I said, we will, by phases, extend the number of participating schools. It started from 50 and then expanded to 100. Now we have 120 or so. Our practice has improved. Our improved measures have made it easier for schools to participate. Perhaps we'll first hear from the HYAB. In terms of promotional videos, we have launched a series of videos, support of elderly care, and bringing your children to work during summer holiday, bringing your pets to the office, staff clinics, 5-day marriage leave, flexible work arrangements, and work from home practices. Under Secretary, the CSB is aware that there is a different degree of needs and different types of needs among our staff members. They have different familial duties. We have the duty to improve. In the past 2 years, we have launched various measures. In April 2024, we started providing the marriage leave and compassionate leave. This year in April, we provide the childcare leave. We will continue to consider providing additional family-friendly measures without undermining service quality and service capacity. We will continue to look at various possibilities. What about tax allowance for foreign domestic workers? We have about 400,000 foreign domestic workers in Hong Kong. Of course, their employers would like to have tax allowance for such expenditure. We will take into account the government's financial situation before we decide the way forward. Well, the after-school scheme was launched in September 2023. We provide subsidies. At the beginning, there was only 59 schools, but in 2024 we have expanded the scheme. Now we have 125 schools participating. This year, through the Social Welfare Department and the Education Bureau, we encourage more schools to participate. We will not cap the number of places. We hope that the coverage will include all primary schools in Hong Kong. Next, Mr. Ngan Yu. There are two areas I'd like to ask about first on CSB. Starting from 2024, I want to know how many civil servants have taken marriage leave and compassionate leave. And so far, in terms of the childcare leave, how many are there civil servants that have taken that leave? Do you have the figures? There is something that I would like to say, but there's never the occasion. Today is about family-friendly practices. So I hesitate to talk about employment practices. Let me give you an example. Well, in a shopping mall, I want to find a childcare room to change the nappies for my child. But that room is actually inside a female toilet. Is there something we can do in terms of the Hong Kong standards and planning standard and guidelines to put in place more such childcare facilities? Only a dozen of the MTR stations have childcare rooms. Can we install such rooms at public transport interchanges? The installation of such facilities will make it easier for people to travel with their children. So can we change the Hong Kong PSG, the planning standards and guidelines, to enhance a hardware that is family friendly? I'll defer to the CSB for figures, but before that I will answer. In terms of, say, childcare rooms in shopping malls, I think there is a standard in the guidelines of the buildings department. That's why you see more disabled toilets, accessible toilets, and childcare rooms in shopping malls. We have put in place practice notes on best practices. The room being inside a female toilet may be a problem for Mr. Ngan Yu. We will forward your views to the Development Bureau. As far as we know that, there is unisex for the disabled toilet. But sometimes, because of, say, site constraint, the facilities may be put at a specific location. We may put this forward in future practices. CSB. Starting from April last year, we provide marriage and compassionate leave. Over the 9 months, there are about 2,800 civil servants that have been granted marriage leaves and 8,000 for compassionate leave. That is from April to December. In terms of the childcare leave, it's been in place for about a month. Well, using the CSB as an example, about a dozen civil servants have taken the childcare leave. We will keep in view the situation. So far, the implementation has been smooth.
Chairman, I'd like to follow up. I think that the government should take the lead. Say, for example, at housing society malls, public transport interchange, put in place childcare rooms. Instead of just relying on planning standards and guideline and include these facilities in future buildings to be completed, I think that the government should take the lead, and I hope that the Secretary will relay my suggestions to other departments. Secretary. Thank you. I believe that in existing newly built government buildings, we already have such facilities. Public transport interchange, for example, the Lambton ones, the toilets there are not open for public use. They are for the exclusive use of bus drivers, for example. When we renovate and redevelop these interchanges, we may try to include the facilities as mentioned. Mr. Chan Xiu-Hong. Thank you. Family is a core element of our community. People work to provide for their families. So I do think that the government should promote more family-friendly measures so that employees can continue to work hard while taking care of their families. In recent years, members have raised issues with family-friendly measures, and we see that some of them have achieved outcome. But are these measures effective? I think that the government should take a scientific approach in analyzing the effectiveness of the measures. The administration set out the progress of family-friendly cultures. They have included or increased the number of day child care services and increased the incentive pays for home-based child carers. On top of that, the government have rolled out a number of family-friendly measures to improve their work environment. Currently, we have over 100,000 civil servants. We have organizations that are either directly or indirectly subvented by the government. We also have NCSC's workers. So measures implemented by the government could affect a lot of people. So I wonder if the administration have any way to assess the effectiveness of their measures in creating a family-friendly work environment. The Labor Department have launched a Good Employer Charter that's very popular. In 2024, there were nearly 1,600 organizations being accredited as signatories. Have you looked into how many employees were involved in these 1,600 organizations? Do they offer family-friendly measures for their outsourced workers or contractors? Have you looked into the reason why some organizations choose not to become a signatory to the Good Employer Charter? Why are they not interested? How can we encourage them to sign up for it? In the school-based after-school care service scheme, the Undersecretary said that they're going to encourage all primary schools to join it. In the 2024-25 school year, why do we only have about 125 schools participating? I don't think that's because of the insufficient funding from the Community Care Fund. How can we encourage more schools to join the scheme? Because we want all primary schools to join it, according to the policy address. 3 questions. Undersecretary. I will ask the Assistant Commissioner to take the question about Labor Department and the school-based after-school care service scheme. On the point about KPI, As I mentioned previously, the number of beneficiaries is increasing. Last year was the year of dragon. The birth rate was higher, and we will look into the progress of our measures. We will not be complacent. We'll continue to try to work harder on it. Undersecretary. Many members use the word KPI, but we don't mean hard indicators. There is often demand and supply for various measures. If you have conducted analysis, and if you see that the demand is large, then you can look into the level of supply so that you can cater to the needs of more people. Assistant Commissioner, thank you. Regarding the Good Employer Charter 2024, I'm glad to hear that the trade and the employers are positive about it. I hope that the brand can continue to become popular. Regarding the 1,595 organizations who have been accredited as signatory, the member asked how many employees were involved. About 600,000, according to our survey. There were some large organizations with some 80 to 90,000 employees. We also have small and medium enterprises. So altogether, about 600,000 employees are employed by these 1,600 or so organizations. Most of these employees are directly employed by the organizations. Mr. Chen asked if outsourced workers were covered. For this charter, we target employees directly employed. If contractors are interested to join, they can sign up as an employer. We have looked into ways as to how we can encourage more employers to join. We first launched the charter in 2017 and 18. We had about 500 organizations as signatories. This second round of the charter was launched in 2020. About 1,000 organizations joined. This year, we have about 1,500 to 1,600 organizations that have signed up for the charter. We'll look into how we can encourage organizations who have become signatories stay in the charter. For those who have not joined the charter, we will see why they have not joined it. Is it because their forms are too complicated? We try to encourage more employers to sign up for our charter. Through the charter, we're not trying to identify a champion, first runner-up, a second runner-up. As long as an organization or employer sign up, they can become as signatories. There's no winning or losing with our charter. As this is the first time that we've launched the charter, we have accorded 3 stars to organizations who have been accredited as signatories in the last 3 rounds. Can we encourage more organizations to be accredited as signatories? We'll look into it. Mr. Chen, if you have more questions, please press for the second round. Next, Mr. Kotwaikan. Thank you. The paper is rather simple. It contains only 4 pages. They're about the measures adopted by the government. We started at a low point with our family-friendly measures. I haven't seen any significant results yet. So what kind of effectiveness are we looking into in the subcommittee to study population policy and initiatives? We don't have a goal or target. That's why it's hard for us to measure the effectiveness of the measures. Are we trying to increase the labor participation rate by having these measures? Japan and Singapore, their women labor participation rate is much higher than ours. In Hong Kong, our rate is about just our rate is 10 to 15% lower than those countries. If we don't set a target while we just work on what we have, then it's hard for us to assess the effectiveness. Third, Chairman, we have been asking for flexible working hours and the establishment of mother posts while we try to unleash labor force. Now we have imported workers. And a full-time imported workers can replace a few part-time workers. And that actually affects the incentives of employers implementing the mother post. Is there any room for us to increase the number of mother posts on the market? How can we unleash female labor the participation rate further? Under Secretary. Our policy is to offer facilitation so that women or people will not be incentivized to bear a child because of their work engagement. Targets of, say, 70% or 100,000 is not how we measure effectiveness. That's just the result of our measures. If elderly people want to work, we try to provide facilitation for them. In a Legislative study or research paper, when Japan tries to encourage more elderly people work, they only allow their elderly to take out retirement pay at an older age. Our policies is a stick and carrot approach. We try to offer carrots to people, but we don't want to force women to work. We try to provide incentives for them through immigration or supplementary labor scheme. We try to fill our labor shortage. Mr. Kwok said that because some imported workers work full-time, that's why part-time workers who are mostly women have less opportunities. We are reviewing our supplementary labor scheme, but we also understand that employer want a stable team at their workplace. Some employers hire part-time workers to expand their business. We adopt different measures. For re-employment allowance scheme, we allow part-time workers to apply for that as well.
Next, Mr. Lo Wai Kwok. Thank you. The Labour and Welfare Department submitted an information paper. They've given us some explanations as well. I don't deny that when it comes to family-friendly measures, there is some progress. But it seems to be just a very small part under the purview of this subcommittee. This subcommittee talks about population policy and initiatives. Well, there has been some concern. In 2024, we have a population of 7.7 million, and now we have 8.19 million. The rate of increase has slowed down significantly. By 2046, we will have 8.19 million people, and those who are above the age of 65 will account for 36% of our population. The labor participation rate will be worrying too. We have about 30,000 babies born every year. A decade ago, the number was about 50 to 60,000. It was higher before that. With such a low birth rate, I hope that our family-friendly measures will achieve one important goal. It's not just to make sure that people live happily and harmoniously. It is important to encourage young couples to have one or two children more. You have to take the worry away from them when it comes to the child's education and health care. When it comes to family-friendly measures, we're not just talking about families in Hong Kong. We want to attract new families coming to Hong Kong. We have various talent admission schemes. In their respective groups on social media, they talk about problems of education for their children. When they come to Hong Kong, are their children treated as a local student? They have the flexibility to choose schools. There won't be a different treatment. You have to make it clear to them. So you encourage local people to give birth. In addition, we need to attract more people to come to Hong Kong, not just high-quality ones, but population of different sectors. I'm afraid the Undersecretary is unable to give me a comprehensive answer because he can only talk about his own portfolio. But what I talked about is the aspiration of the subcommittee. We expect that from the administration. Undersecretary. Yes, that is the overall goal of the government. The Deputy Chief Secretary has been doing a lot of work in this regard. When it comes to education, we have done our work. For secondary and primary schools, we have available school places for all newly arrived children. For talents coming to Hong Kong, they just want to get in the dozen or so prestigious schools. There is keen competition in these prestigious local schools or international schools. My child is of school age. I feel the competition because the competition has increased ever since the various talent admission schemes have been put in place. You can't expect just the dozens or so schools to be able to absorb all the additional school children. The top talent admission scheme makes it easier for talents to come to Hong Kong. They can come to Hong Kong without having landed themselves a job. Their children will be treated as a local student. They can go straight to university. The children of some of these talents under the top talent pass scheme come to Hong Kong before their parents. We're looking into putting in place certain restrictions to make sure that the talents will first arrive and settle in Hong Kong before the children can get into university. We want to make it fair to local parents while maintaining our attractiveness to overseas talents. We want to attract them to come to Hong Kong to settle. Mr. Wai Kok, I thank the Undersecretary for giving us information about education of children of these overseas talents. These families encounter various difficulties. Some of them are language issues. Some of them are to do with school places. I do think the policy bureaus in relevant departments will have to monitor the views of people in these groups. We want to attract overseas talents to come to Hong Kong. We are concerned about local school children and the children of overseas talents. Ms. Doreen Kong, I do agree with Dr. Lo Wai Kok. The scope of population policy is wide. We have a limited time and we have a limited scope under this subcommittee. We should be focused on population policy, which is of an extensive scope. Today, the topic is family-friendly measures. The information we have received is mostly about child care. I think the scope of family-friendly measures is wide. It's not just about facilitation measures to families and women. Family-friendly measures should help families develop. In 2021, the State Council issued an outline plan for women development. Under this topic, one area is about building a family. There are a number of important points. When it comes to family building, there are a number of important policy measures. The relevant ones are how to apply the concept of gender equality on familial duties and the prevention of familial disputes, development of public services relating to families, including housing, talent, finances, as well as elderly services and home management. All these are conducive to family development and family-friendly measures. bureaus and departments, when they look at family-friendly, should not just focus on childcare, manpower, and women development. I am a woman. My 2 children have grown up, but it doesn't mean that I don't need family-friendly measures. When I'm old, I expect my children to support me and care for me. So when we talk about family-friendly issues, we should not just talk about women between the age of 20 and 40 or facilitation measures to enable them to work. That scope is too narrow. I have a number of questions to ask. I ask for figures. The after-school childcare service scheme, you have given us some figures. Have you conducted any surveys to gauge the views of families participating in the scheme? How many mothers have successfully found a job because they've joined the scheme? Have you set a target of the number of participating schools? And the international trend of families of different generations living together. Well, there may be restrictions when it comes to housing different generations, but do you have any measures to promote families living together, families of different generations living together? I recall that when it comes to housing allocation of the Housing Authority, there is one that is conducive to living with your family members. Well, they make it easier for the families of your children or your parents in the same area. So if you're willing to live in a new area, say an extended urban area or new territories, you may make an application under these schemes, something like a harmonious family priority scheme. I thank the member for asking a question about the school-based after-school care service scheme. When it was first launched, we had a target, not just for any family, any children, but mostly those from single families and underprivileged families. That's why we started in certain districts where there are more of these families before we extended the scheme to other districts. In the first stage, we did not consider schools from some other districts. And the schools in the district considered the number of families that schools cover. Schools and parents themselves have their own considerations. We have made use of different measures to encourage participation. Some schools are run by NGOs. We've tried to find ways to assist the NGOs to run these programs for schools. Some schools may feel that they would need to wait and see to gauge the views of parents and demands before they make a decision. The scheme has been in place for 2 to 3 years. We have plans to conduct a review and a study to gauge the effectiveness of the scheme. Some members expressed a concern about the effectiveness of the scheme. We will collect data. That's why we're unable to supply the data at this point in time. We will conduct a review to see the progress, implementation. We will collect figures before we can give more information to members.
Ms. Khan, you also asked about other family-friendly measures. Perhaps you should press button for the second round. Ms. Nixie Lam. As I mentioned in our last meeting, our subcommittee is supposed to study population policy. It's a very broad topic. Today, we focus on discussing family-friendly measures. I've worked with the administration on it. I don't think that our city is family-friendly enough. I've worked with brokers and human resources organizations. We collected data, seeing that there were only 14% of companies have policies that are more favorable than what our laws require. I think that this figure is rather unhealthy. For family-friendly measures, we're not just talking about children. For middle-class families, many of them have to take care also of their elderly. If we have flexible working arrangements, then employees can leave their work to take care of their families in emergency situations. This will reinforce the employer-employee relationship. On child care service, the government said that they're going to purchase premises and turn them into child care centers. I don't think that the government should do so because sellers of property would try to sell their premises to the government at a higher price. So I don't support the proposal. A few weeks ago, I read on the news that the government wasn't so successful in the purchase of such premises. Instead, I hope that the private companies or the business sector would provide more would create a more family-friendly environment for the employees. Should we also put in place a common areas in a building and turn them into childcare centers? For HSBC and the Hong Kong Airport Authority, they have a childcare centers in their companies. For small companies or medium enterprises, how can they provide similar service? Perhaps they should talk to the developers and ask them to offer such facilities in their office buildings. I don't think that one single bureau should work on population policy. For refuse problems, we have many different departments responsible for it. We similarly should not rely on LWB to study population policy. LWB may offer information on childcare facilities in different districts to other departments. In another meeting that I attended on sewage facilities, I asked why there is no childcare centers or facilities there. The administration said that because there were no people living nearby. However, that facility was in Tinshu Wayu, where there were a lot of families. So I wonder if the administration has accorded priority to family-friendly measures when they plan for new buildings or districts. Ms. Lam, your time is up. Well, that's just a comment from me. I think that the administration has put in much effort to promote these measures, and the CSB has implemented many new kinds of leaves for their employees. But I think that the government should set up a task force to study population policy. We don't even have an overall population policy as of right now, and I don't think that this is ideal. Under Secretary, that's a suggestion. Thank you, Chairman. There is a committee on population led by the Secretary for administration. The requirements for childcare centers is very high. That's why it's very difficult for us to procure premises for that. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to purchase properties at higher stories and turn them into other facilities and use the area at a lower story and turn them into childcare centers. Mr. Dennis Leung. I see that the administration is trying to improve the family-friendly measures that they have, and I hope that we'll have more in the future. With these measures, we hope that employees can take care of their family as they work. Many years ago, the government launched the 5-day week for civil servants. However, still some civil servants are not able to enjoy the 5-day week work pattern. Civil servants who don't enjoy the 5-day week have proposed many suggestions to the Secretary. However, we have seen no follow-up action by the senior management of the government. I think that the government should look into how we can solve the problem. For those who don't enjoy 5-day week, for example, those working in the post office, I think that the government should find ways to make things fairer for them. The government often quote the 4 challenges. I don't think that's very ideal. Second, Ms. Elizabeth Quat put an oral question on how we can unleash women labor force. In 2023-24, we have about 7,800 childcare places at childcare centers under SWD. However, the utilization rate is just 56%. In some districts, we have many empty places. However, in some districts, the supply could not meet the demand. So is it the case that the childcare center of the SWD cannot meet the demand of the parents? We have more and more parents who work. And I think that has to do with our low birth rate. Is it because of the mismatch in the service hours and the working hours of the childcare centers and their parents? Some mothers have to quit their jobs to take care of their children. Now we want to unleash women labor force to promote and boost our economy. I hope that the government will try to adjust the service hours of the childcare centers to cater to the needs of the parents. Undersecretary, perhaps I will defer to the CSB. The government is well aware of the expectations of the civil servants. 5-day week is a family-friendly measure. It's not employment conditions. We do hope that more civil servants will be able to enjoy this work pattern. We are not planning to relax the 4 principles. Despite that, the Civil Service Bureau has been looking into ways as to how we can increase the number of civil servants who are able to enjoy 5-day week work pattern. We try to adopt technology to enhance our human resource management. And we see more civil servants being able to enjoy the 5-day week work pattern. We will promote a wider use of technology so that we can raise the ratio of civil servants who are able to work on 5-day week work pattern with the use of technology. Thank you. As mentioned by Mr. Leung, we have about 8,000 service places in subvented childcare centers. About 1,300 of them are standalone aided childcare centers subvented by the Social Welfare Department. Some of them are attached to kindergartens. For aided standalone childcare centers, most of them are for children aged between 0 and 2. The utilization of these utilization rate of these service places is about 80%. As for childcare centers attached to kindergartens, they cater to children aged between 2 and 6. So we see about 30,000 service places for this group of children in the private sector. So the utilization rate of childcare centers attached to kindergartens is lower, that account for about 50%. In some districts, because they have fewer younger children, some childcare centers or kindergartens may choose to relocate to other districts. With fewer students intake, these kindergartens or childcare centers may relocate to districts with more school-aged population. Through various programs and projects, we try to build childcare centers in districts with great demand for such services. We may try to purchase, say, properties and turn them into childcare centers in districts where there is high demand. We look at the supply and demand in various districts to plan for services and facilities. Dr. Hui Simon Lee. Thank you, Chairman. We are here to discuss how we can promote family-friendly measures so that we can help people strike a balance between family and work and unleash productivity and encourage childbearing. From the perspective of a social structure or the structure of a society, I'd like to talk about childcare centers. First, the government offer childcare centers, after-school care service. We also have other measures such as neighborhood support childcare projects. As mentioned by other members, the most important secondary social relationship is employment. So, however, we cannot just completely rely on enterprises to offer family-friendly measures to their employees. Will the government offer, say, for example, tax incentives to encourage employers to promote the family-friendly measures to their employees? By this, more companies or even large enterprises will be more encouraged to work on it. because by this, it will enhance the reputation of the companies. I think that tax incentives would be very effective. In mainland, some years ago, in order to promote gender equality, enterprises have been providing these family-friendly measures to their employees. Will the government work on it? Thank you.
主席。
Undersecretary, I thank Mr. Lee for his views. We note his views and will take that into account in the formulation of measures. Now, our finances are tight, so we'll have to wait and see. You mentioned about 2 large corporations in Hong Kong that have set up their own crash service. These are sizable organizations. You will have to have a large number of employees in order to run the crash service. Well, perhaps, for the other people who have been, who are working on the airport island, they have sufficient demand for the crash service. For the other organization is an organization with a very long history, so they have a sizable staff to support the service. But it doesn't apply to all organizations. I think it's for the individual organizations to decide whether it is cost effective for them to run this service. This may not be a good time, but it's a good time to look into it and wait for a time when the finances are better for its implementation. There are quite a large number of sizable organizations like the 2 that have just been mentioned. There is incentive for these organizations to run the service. Second round, 4 minutes. Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. Thank you. I asked about the school-based after-school care service scheme. The administration has given me an answer. Well, there is an uneven distribution of the 125 schools in the territory. Some districts have about 14, 15 schools, some have a lot fewer. Well, you gave me a reply. You said that there are districts that have a greater need. That's why you started with those. Your goal this year is to encourage all primary schools in Hong Kong to take part. Your goal is clear. I think it's down to whether you can do more when it comes to supporting service. I will ask for its effectiveness on other occasions. I would like to follow up on the good employer charter and also measures put in place on the employer's accord. Well, some listed companies have to meet requirements on environment, governance, and social responsibilities. They have to meet the requirements. That's why they have to put in place some measures. SMEs, in order to meet the requirements of these environment, governance requirements, they have to do more. Some of the measures are available for their direct staff members. Sometimes, if they engage contract workers or engage a contractor, they incorporate a term in their contract requiring the service provider to put in place family-friendly measures because this will give them extra points in getting the contract. Companies providing manual labor will have an incentive to provide these measures. And most of these companies are SMEs. The government engages a lot of contract outsourced workers. Will you incorporate this term in the standard contract? If the company put in place family-friendly measures, will you give them extra points? I think if you take the lead to do it, it will yield an enormous result. I'll see if the Labor Department has anything to add when it comes to good employer charter. Regarding procurement contracts, as to whether family-friendly measures can be incorporated into the terms of contracts, we hope that the contractors will do that on their own initiatives. But if we incorporate it as part of the scoring system, it will increase cost. The Treasury will help with the tender exercise as to on what terms the contractors are engaged. I think is for the procuring department. We will forward your views to the Treasury, to the Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau. Giving them additional points is an option. Of course, for certain sectors, if the conditions are not right, they may not consider putting in place these family-friendly measures. I see that in some organizations or companies, that the owner or the employers would like to do the right thing. They think that putting in place family-friendly measures will improve productivity and morale. You need to provide incentives and put in place measures to create the right environment. If there is the environment that family-friendly workplace is a must, then there is this culture. It will make employees in Hong Kong happier. Ms. Doreen Kong speaking for the second time. Just now, Mr. Chen Si-hung talked about culture. I advocate family-friendly culture. In my office, well, if their children are off school, I encourage them to bring the children to the office. There is a little girl. She's been helping me working as a voluntary worker since she was born till the age of 2, and the child help the mother carrying shopping is a very positive environment. The child watches me and her mother working and will feel the positive energy. It will have a positive impact on the development of the child. Well, if the work environment allows, then mothers should be allowed to bring their children to work when the children are off school. Well, we need to help them strike a balance between work and home. It's not just women, male employees as well. We need to provide support in different areas to staff members. The government should support them in different areas. In addition to after-school childcare service, there should be more done, say in terms of finance. The government has tried to help in terms of finances for these families. You have to watch your time. I just hope that the government will help these families as much as possible. You have to have a marriage before you have a family. Perhaps counseling service should be provided. You can provide counseling service to resolve disputes. Can more be done on the part of the government? Undersecretary, we hear the views of Ms. Kong. Counseling services are provided by religious groups and on different occasions. We'll see if more can be done or if it can be done by the government or other organizations. We'll keep this in view. There is another point, bringing your children to work. I went with my mother when I was young to sell lunch boxes at a construction site. Children learn a lot. As to whether we should turn this into a policy to encourage parents to bring their children to work, I think it depends on whether the workplace is suitable. Time is different now. We're more protective of our children nowadays. We will look into it. I think Ms. Kong's not asking for a policy. Perhaps we'll hear from the Labour Department. Let me supplement. When we consider cases under the Good Employer Charter, we found that in some organizations, parents are allowed to bring their children to work. We encourage this practice. We have selected one of the cases. We use this as a promotion of this practice. The organization allows the employees to bring the children to work. We have over 1,000 organizations in the charter. We see that about 20% of organizations participating in the charter allow their employees to bring the children to work. It may not be a standing practice, but the percentage is not as low as we thought it would be. I am the last person to speak. A number of members have asked about the information paper. I have some observations to make. A number of members have mentioned that this is a subcommittee on population policy. The discussion and the information supply should focus on our purview. Well, there are measures to promote labor participation, to encourage childbearing, and other areas. Perhaps in the future, when we have a chance to discuss this topic, we have to have a clearer objective. But of course, we need to know about progress and work done in some areas, say for example childcare. I think what members are concerned is that how it impacts on the general direction. There are aided childcare services, service centers, and the community care fund support the school-based after-school child service scheme. As to how we can increase incentives, the Secretary said that that is the approach they have. They use carrots. I think it's also about how to encourage the input of resources in the right area for private organizations. Well, let's see if there is a reply from the administration.
即係我哋都會
Chairman, we will consider your suggestion as to how we can encourage private organizations to establish their own childcare centers. This term of the government focuses on society, government, enterprises collaboration. Like the community living room, we partnered with the business sector. We have to keep to our standards. And we will look into how we can implement your suggestions. Financial resources are involved. We will consider the proposal. Thank you. Mr. Chan Xiu-hong. Chairman, are you trying to make a summary? Will this be our last meeting? We wrap up our discussion on the progress and effectiveness of promoting family-friendly measures. Any other business? This is our last meeting. The subcommittee has completed our work on schedule. The Secretariat is going to prepare a report and will circulate it to members for your for perusal, and the report will be submitted to the House Committee. Mr. Chan Xiu-hong, I thank Chairman for leading the subcommittee in the discussion of population policies and initiatives. We don't think that we have enough discussion on this topic because we have been looking forward to a broader and higher level population policy initiatives proposed by the government for a discussion. My feeling is that over the past meetings, we were only able to see the tree without the forest. The forest is the overall population policy initiatives. In 2015, the government promulgated the population policies and initiative. The government said that the policies and initiatives proposed 10 years ago have already been implemented. However, the structure of a society and the direction that we're taking for various things such as technology have transformed and changed. I hope that the government will review the population policy. Again, in 2018, the Human Resources Planning Committee led by the Chief Secretary for Administration works on reviewing and coordinating the overall human resources planning in collaboration with various sectors. Now 6 to 7 years have passed. with different committees and task force. We hope that we can look into each and every measure and policy areas. As mentioned, on various occasions, we have talked about population and its policies and initiatives. I believe that the Secretariat will have enough information and to prepare the report. And I hope that we can turn our discussion into population policy and plan for our measures for the next 5 to 6 years. That's what I've been looking forward to. That's exactly why we established this subcommittee. As I mentioned, we're going to circulate our work report. If Mr. Chan have any proposed amendments or suggestions, we are going to welcome that. I hereby thank the administration for participating in the meetings, and I also thank the members for their participation. There being no other business, meeting adjourned. Thank you.